From the scorching deserts to the majestic temples, the heart of the Aztec Empire beats with the power of ancient gods. This is Pantheon mythology, and these are the gods from the Aztec world. If you love mythology, be sure to check out our clothing brand, Pantheon Apparel. Here you'll find epic designs inspired by mythology, folklore and legends. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot. You'll find a link in the description. Right, let's begin. The Aztec pantheon is as vast and complex as the empire itself. These gods weren't just figures in stories, they were central to every aspect of life. From the rise and fall of the sun to the crops that fed entire civilizations, the gods shaped daily rituals, festivals, and even warfare. Their power, beliefs, and traditions lived in every temple, every prayer, and every sacrifice. Let's meet them. Starting with Huitzilopochtli, the god of the sun, war, and every spirit of the Aztec people. He wasn't just any god. He was the heart and soul of the Aztec identity. According to myth, Huitzilopochtli led the Mexica people to the Valley of Mexico, where they would establish Tenochtitlan, their legendary capital. The Aztecs saw him as their divine protector, and this power was directly tied to their military strength. In battle, Huitzilopochtli was always at their side, ensuring victory and dominance over their enemies. His daily journey across the sky symbolized the struggle of life itself, but it also reminded the Aztecs of the sacrifices needed to keep him strong. They believed that without these offerings, the sun's power would fade and the world would descend into chaos. His connection to warfare was so strong that his priests performed rituals before battle, calling upon his strength to guide the warriors. In return, the Aztecs honored him with massive sacrifices, especially during the grand ceremonies at the Templo Mayor. For the Aztecs, Huitzilopochtli was more than a god. He was the force that kept their empire alive and victorious. The feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl, god of wind, rain, and wisdom, wasn't just one of the most important gods in Aztec mythology. He was a cultural icon across Mesoamerica. His name comes from the Quetzal, a vibrant green bird, and Coatl, meaning serpent. Together he represented the perfect mix of earth and air, wisdom and power. Quetzalcoatl played a crucial role in the Aztec creation myth. According to legend, he journeyed to Mictlan, the underworld, to retrieve the bones of past generations. He ground them up and mixed them with his own blood, creating the first humans of this era. Without him, the Aztecs believed humanity wouldn't exist. The Aztecs credited him with teaching them everything, from writing and the calendar to agriculture, especially the cultivation of maize. He was also a patron of learning and craftsmanship, making him a god of both intelligence and artistry. Unlike many other Aztec gods, Quetzalcoatl wasn't known for demanding sacrifices. Instead, he was seen as a protector of humanity, which made him stand out in a pantheon filled with gods who required blood to stay strong. His influence stretched far beyond the Aztecs, as earlier cultures like the Toltecs also worshipped him. Quetzalcoatl wasn't just a god, he was a legend, a teacher, and a symbol of knowledge and renewal. Tezcatlipoca is god of night, sorcery, and conflict, and his name means smoking mirror, a reference to the obsidian mirrors used in divination and his ability to see into the future. He was a force of chaos, shifting fate as he pleased, bringing both fortune and ruin. Tezcatlipoca had a long-standing rivalry with Quetzalcoatl. The two worked together to shape the world, but their partnership eventually turned to conflict. Tezcatlipoca was a trickster at heart, and in one tale, he got Quetzalcoatl drunk and humiliated him, forcing him into exile. This clash between them represented the struggle between wisdom and chaos, order and unpredictability. He was also linked to war and kingship, and many Aztec rulers sought his favor. His influence was unpredictable. One day he could grant success, the next he could bring downfall. Warriors and nobles feared and respected him, knowing that he had the power to shape their destiny. God of rain and fertility, Tlaloc was depended upon for life-giving rain, but the Aztecs also feared his wrath because when he was angry, he could bring droughts, floods, and devastating storms. Tlaloc had the power to make the crops flourish or fail, and his influence stretched beyond just agriculture. He was also tied to lakes, rivers, and even the afterlife, where those who passed away from water-related causes were believed to enter Tlalocan, a lush green paradise of eternal spring. The Aztecs held grand ceremonies to honor him, offering prayers and gifts to ensure good rainfall. His importance was so great that one of the 2 shrines atop the Templo Mayor was dedicated entirely to him, a testament to how crucial he was to their survival. Tlaloc could be generous, bringing abundance, or merciless, unleashing destruction. Tonatiuh, the ever-burning sun god, was at the center of Aztec life, quite literally. The Aztecs believed they lived under the 5th sun, an era ruled by Tonatiuh. But there was a catch. He wasn't going to keep shining for free. Tonatiuh demanded strength, energy, and, most importantly, sacrifice. Without blood offerings, the sun's power would fade, and the world would fall into darkness. Warriors who died in battle and those sacrificed to him were believed to rise and join him, becoming part of his radiant path across the sky. The good old god of death and ruler of the underworld, Mictlantecuhtli. He ruled Mictlan, the lowest level of the underworld, where most souls ended up after death. But getting there wasn't easy, as the dead had to journey through the 9 treacherous levels, facing obstacles like raging winds and mountains that crashed together. Only after surviving all of that could they finally rest. He ruled alongside his wife, Mictlantecuhtli, and together they ensured the dead found their place in the afterlife. But he wasn't just feared, he was also honored. The Aztecs left offerings at his temples, and he played a key role in death rituals, especially during the Dia de los Muertos, traditions that evolved from these beliefs. To the Aztecs, death wasn't the end, but a journey. And Mictlantecuhtli was the one waiting at the finish line. Chalchiuhtlicue, the goddess of rivers, lakes, and all flowing waters. Her name means She of Jade Skirt, a fitting title for a deity so deeply tied to fertility, renewal, and life itself. As the wife, or in some myths, the sister of Tlaloc, she was just as powerful, controlling the waters that nourished the land and sustained the people. Beyond providing water, she was seen as a protector, especially of women and children. Midwives called upon her during childbirth, and newborns were ritually bathed in her name, symbolizing purification and a fresh start in life. In one version of the Aztec myth, she ruled over the 4th sun, an era that ended in a massive flood, where people were transformed into fish. The Aztecs honored her with ceremonies involving water rituals, sometimes even priests diving into lakes to imitate frogs, hoping to summon much-needed rainfall. There'd be no world at all if it wasn't for Ometeotl, the Aztec deity of duality and creation. Both male and female, they embodied balance, light and dark, order and chaos, creation and destruction. The Aztecs believed that everything in the universe existed because of this harmony, and without it, there would be nothing. Residing in the Omeyocan, the highest of the 13 heavens, Ometeotl wasn't a god you prayed to for favor or built temples for. Rather, they were a concept woven into the very fabric of existence. Every cycle of life, every shift between opposing forces was a reflection of Ometeotl's presence. While they weren't the kind of god who walked among mortals or demanded offerings, Ometeotl was at the heart of Aztec beliefs. Their existence reminded the Aztecs that the world was built on balance, and that nothing, not even the gods, could exist without it. Xiuhtecuhtli is the god of fire, time, and the cycles of life. Known as the Turquoise Lord, he was present in every flame, from the household hearth to the great temple fires. The Aztecs saw him as a force that kept time moving, ensuring the world passed through its endless cycles of renewal. More than just a fire god, Xiuhtecuhtli was a guardian of both beginnings and endings. Every 52 years, when the Aztec calendars aligned, they held a new fire ceremony. All fires were extinguished, plunging the world into darkness, before a new sacred flame was lit, marking the start of a fresh era. This ritual wasn't just symbolic, it was a moment of cosmic renewal, where fate of the world itself was believed to hang in the balance. Beyond mere ceremonies, he was tied to everyday life. Fire meant warmth, sustenance, and survival, making him ever present in Aztec homes. Centeotl, the god of maize, was at the heart of Aztec life. Maize wasn't just food, it was survival. It fueled their people, shaped their agriculture, and even played a key role in their religious ceremonies. Without it, the Aztec civilization simply wouldn't have thrived. The Aztecs believed that Centeotl was the spirit of maize itself, and they honored him through festivals and rituals to ensure good harvest. One of the most important celebrations was the Huehuecoyotl, a festival where people made offerings, wore necklaces of corn, and even performed bloodletting to show their devotion. Every kernel of maize they harvested was a gift from Centeotl, and they made sure to give thanks. Tlazolteotl, the earth goddess, was both a giver of life and a force of destruction. The Aztecs saw her as the very foundation of the world, her body forming the mountains, rivers, and valleys that sustained them. But she wasn't a gentle, nurturing mother figure. She was a ravenous being who constantly demanded offerings to keep the cycle of life going. According to Aztec myth, the gods had to tear her apart to create the earth, yet even in this state, she was never truly defeated. The Aztecs believed she hungered for blood, and if she wasn't properly honored, she would take life instead of giving it. This is why sacrifices were made in her name, to nourish her, just as she nourished humanity. But Xiuhtecuhtli wasn't just about destruction. She was also the source of all fertility, making sure crops grew and people thrived. The Aztecs had deep respect for the earth, seeing it as something that both provided and consumed. Xochiquetzal, the goddess of beauty, love, and fertility, was the very essence of joy and creativity. Her name means precious feather flower. She was a patron of lovers, artists, and craftsmen, especially those who created luxury goods, like textiles and intricate jewelry. Wherever there was beauty, whether it was a blooming flower, a stunning piece of art, or the spark of romance, Xochiquetzal was present. She also played a key role in family life, overseeing marriage, childbirth, and feminine power. Originally the wife of Tlaloc, she was taken by Tezcatlipoca and transformed into the goddess of love and desire. She was both adored and feared, as she could inspire love, but also lead people into temptation. Huehuecoyotl, the old coyote, was the ultimate trickster of Aztec mythology. A god of music, dance, and mischief, he was the kind of deity who could bring joy one moment and chaos the next. Like any good trickster, Huehuecoyotl loved stirring things up, sometimes for fun, sometimes just to see what would happen. He played pranks on gods and mortals alike, and while his tricks could be entertaining, they often spiraled out of control, landing him in trouble. His unpredictable nature made him both a source of laughter and a reminder that things don't always go as planned. But it wasn't all trouble. Huehuecoyotl was also associated with celebration, creativity, and even wisdom in his own roundabout way. Aztecs saw him as a patron of storytelling, music, and revelry, someone who reminded them to enjoy life, but also to be wary of its twists and turns. Xolotl, the god of lightning, death, and the evening star, was the shadow that followed the light. While his twin brother Quetzalcoatl represented the morning star and renewal, Xolotl was tied to the evening star, guiding souls into the underworld as night fell. With his canine features and unsettling presence, Xolotl was seen as a protector of the dead, leading them safely through Mictlan, the Aztec underworld. But he wasn't just a guide, he was also a survivor. In one myth, when the gods decided they needed to sacrifice themselves to keep the sun moving, Xolotl refused. He shapeshifted, trying to escape his fate by turning into a maize plant, then an agave, and finally a salamander. But in the end, he couldn't outrun his destiny. As the god of lightning, he was also tied to storms, fire, and transformation. Though he carried an air of misfortune, he was necessary to maintain balance. As the god of winds and storms, Ehecatl was the breath that kept the world moving. The Aztecs believed that without him, nothing would stir, no clouds, no rain, not even the rising and setting of the sun. He wasn't just a force of nature, he was the power of change itself. Often seen as an aspect of Quetzalcoatl, Ehecatl had a playful yet unpredictable nature. He could bring a cool breeze on a hot day or whip up fierce storms that reminded people of his strength. His winds carried the rains that nourished the crops, but they could just as easily destroy everything in their path. Tlazolteotl, the goddess of purification and filth, was the ultimate paradox. She could lure people into temptation but also cleanse them of their sins. The Aztecs saw her as both the cause of human indulgence and the path to redemption, a divine force that embraced the messy reality of life. She was especially linked to confession. If someone had committed a wrongdoing, they could seek forgiveness through a ritual where they admitted their sins to a priest. Tlazolteotl would eat the filth of their transgressions, cleansing their soul and offering them a fresh start. Unlike other gods who demanded constant offerings, she granted absolution just once in a lifetime, so you had to make it count. Cihuacoatl, meaning snake woman, was both a fierce warrior and a protector of mothers. The Aztecs saw childbirth as a battle of its own, and Cihuacoatl stood by women as they fought to bring new life into the world. Those who died during childbirth were honored as fallen warriors. Their spirits, known as the Xiuhtecuhtli, believed to soar through the skies alongside the sun, just like warriors who died in combat. But she wasn't just tied to birth. She had a warlike side, often appearing with skeletal figures or carrying weapons. Her presence reminded the Aztecs that life and death weren't opposites, but part of the same cycle. Even in the city of Tenochtitlan, her influence was strong. The second in command to the ruler bore her title, Xiuhtecuhtli, showing that she represented both power and responsibility in governance as well. The god of the hunt, Mixcoatl, was a warrior, a hunter, and a force of nature all rolled into one. His name means cloud serpent, and he was believed to control the paths of storms and stars, making him not just a master of the wild, but of the sky itself. Mixcoatl was the patron of hunters and nomadic warriors, teaching them how to track, kill, and survive in the harshest conditions. He carried a bow and arrows, symbols of both sustenance and warfare, and was linked to the Chichimeque tribes, fierce groups of hunter-gatherers who saw him as their ancestral guide. But he wasn't just about the hunt. He was also tied to the stars. The Aztecs believed he had a deep connection with the Milky Way, and some myths say he played a role in shaping the heavens themselves. Patecatl, the god of healing and medicine, was the Aztecs' divine doctor. He was the one who gifted them knowledge of medical plants, teaching healers how to use herbs and roots to treat sickness, ease pain, and even mend wounds. In a world where survival depended on both skill and spiritual favor, his guidance was invaluable. The Aztecs had a deep respect for natural remedies, and their healers, known as the Tezcatlipoca, worked with a vast array of plants to keep people healthy. They used maguey sap to disinfect wounds, herbs to relieve fevers, and even spiritual rituals to cleanse the soul. He also had a wilder side. He was closely tied to pulque, the sacred fermented drink made from the maguey plant, and was said to be the father of the Centeotl, the 400 drunken rabbit gods of intoxication. So while he was a healer, he also had a connection to revelry and relaxation, showing that medicine wasn't just about curing illness, but also about the joys of life. Coatlicue, the serpent skirt, was both the life-giver and the life-taker. As the mother of Huitzilopochtli, the fierce sun and war god, she wasn't some gentle nurturing figure. She was raw, primal power, embodying the unstoppable force of nature itself. Her appearance alone was enough to strike fear and awe. She wore a skirt of writhing serpents, her necklace was strung with hands, hearts, and a skull, and where her head should have been, two snakes faced each other, forming a terrifying visage. She was the earth in its purest form, fertile, yet hungry, always demanding something in return. Her most famous myth tells of how she became pregnant after a ball of feathers fell into her lap. Her other children, the Centeotl Huitzilopochtli, saw this as a disgrace and plotted to kill her. But before they could strike, Huitzilopochtli was both fully armed and ready to battle, proving that Coatlicue wasn't just the mother of the gods, she was the force that birthed warriors and shaped the fate of the cosmos. Xipe Totec, our Lord the Flayed One, was the god of renewal, agriculture, and the changing seasons, but his way of bringing new life was anything but gentle. He was a god of transformation, of shedding the old to make way for the new, and the Aztecs took that concept literally. Xipe Totec was often shown wearing the flayed skin of a sacrificed victim, symbolizing the fresh, younger layer of life beneath. Just as the earth sheds its dry husk after winter, he too had to peel away the old to bring about fertility and abundance. His worshippers would wear the skins of those offered in his name, a gruesome but meaningful ritual that represented rebirth and the renewal of nature. But he wasn't just a god of agriculture, he also had ties to warfare. Warriors prayed to him for strength, believing that just as the earth was renewed through sacrifice, so too could they be transformed into something greater. For the Aztecs, Xipe Totec wasn't just a reminder that life comes from death. He was proof that transformation, no matter how brutal, was necessary for survival. The Aztecs had hundreds of gods, each shaping the world in their own way. We've covered many of the most important ones, but there are still countless others with stories just as fascinating. If we missed one of your favorites, well, that's just proof of how vast and complex the Aztec pantheon truly was. The Aztecs didn't just believe in their gods, they lived by them. Every battle fought, every offering made, every festival held was a tribute to these powerful forces that shaped their world. And even today, their stories still burn bright, reminding us of a civilization where the divine wasn't just something to worship, it was part of everyday life.